Good evening and welcome to At the Cross. I'm Chris.
I'm Annie.
I'm Lily.
I'm Cadence.
Cadence.
And I can't keep my hand straight because Lily looks like she's right here. That's not Lily. That's Lily.
It's
But then
weird.
It's very bizarre.
Well, we should flip it.
Eddie! You have to introduce Eddie.
Uh-oh, 1 second. Introduce Eddie. Oh, did you see him?
Yeah, he popped his nose in.
There we go.
Hi, puppy.
There's Eddie.
Lily has a dog who looks exactly like Eddie. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
But this is what he does all the time. Is he'll just sit there. He just sits there.
This is where he sits.
Yep. Hi, Eddie.
Oh my goodness.
Eddie.
Eddie.
There we
Oh,
go.
there he goes. Good dog.
All
So
right.
what creation were dogs made? That was my attempt
There
at
we go. I
it.
switched it.
You really didn't. I appreciate the effort. Did not work. Did not work. So let's revisit the drawing board. Try it again. Yeah. And you ruined my segue. It was a really good segue, and it was definitely. Thank you. This is why I like her better than you, Dad. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. All right, go ahead. What was your segue? Try it again.
Well, it was going to be the whole, what day of creation were dogs made? It was
Yes.
going to be a really good segue. So,
All Let's try it
A+.
again. Hey, Eddie,
Okay.
look. There's Annie. Say hi. All right.
What day of creation were dogs made?
Ah, very good. I don't know.
Really good. High five.
So here's what we have. This is in Genesis, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but as we look at the very first pages of the Bible, this is what we see, right? We see that God created everything. And he did it in a period of 6 days. What happened on the seventh day? Anybody remember? He chilled. Yep. He chilled.
Real Bible word.
What's that?
He did chill. He chilled. He chilled.
The technical terms.
Technical terms.
Technical
Very,
terms,
very
yeah.
scientific.
It's a Hebrew.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Hebrew.
And so what we find here is, right, on the first day, he is creating light, right? Let there be light, and there was light. On the second day, he talks about this separation of water, right? And so we have water below and water above. He called it sky. The third day, he talks about land and produce and vegetables and trees and all of that's happening. Fourth day, moon, sky, sun. And then the fifth day are the animals of the air, the animals of the sea. That's where your little dinosaurs come in. Oh, look at the little whale is right there too. And then the sixth day is what?
Those are plesiosaurs in day 5. They're not dinosaurs.
Right. So they're dinosaurs in day 5. And then on day 6, we have I guess the dogs didn't like that too much. And then in day 6, we have the land creatures. Monkeys and
As we can hear.
elephants and Tyrannosaurus rexes, 2 of them. Right? Those are Tyrannosaurus rexes. Are they
Yeah,
raptors?
I think so. They have the tiny arms.
They do have little tiny arms. Yeah, they are. Very good.
Yeah.
All right.
They're brachiosaurs at first. But they do have like the little tiny.
So what? Why do we care about all this?
Well, I care about dinosaurs.
I know you do. Mhm. So, well, let's ask it a different way. Why is that picture I showed you not in any public school book?
Probably because of the, I think that was in 1971, the Lemon versus whatever the heck case that went to the Supreme Court. And now they have like the 3-prong test. It's just called the Lemon test.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, more generally, what does this presuppose?
Oh, that God exists.
Yeah, that God exists, right? And if you don't believe in God, you don't believe in this.
Hmm.
And so now you have this whole separation of church and state and all of that stuff, and that's fine, right? That's not fine, but it's a different subject. When we talk about our own beliefs, that becomes an issue, right? Do you believe in God? If you believe in God, then you believe in 6 days of creation. So, from a middle school perspective, how what should they or how do they respond to that? Right? What are the pressures that they're under when we're talking about God and the 6 days of creation?
I think the most basic answer is probably just science class, because that's where you hear it first.
Especially as like a public high school
Yeah.
kid, like science class always teaches the creation over time and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
And do they make any kind of good points, do you think?
I think that they make a lot of points that sway a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
and that bring them out of their own beliefs or lead them to question their own beliefs. Definitely did that for me and does it for a lot of people because they look back and they're like, this is science. And sometimes they teach it as like, this is fact.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's hard to argue against that.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, because it is presented as fact, but it can't be presented as fact because we can't prove it, we can't reproduce it, we can't test it scientifically. But now let's talk about creation from a biblical perspective. We can't reproduce that either. We can't test it, right? And so, there is a problem on our side as well with that, right? And so, there's a challenge there then because neither side can definitively prove beyond any doubt that they're right. We have this invitation for ambiguity, for debate. And so, really, the challenge becomes then who do you believe? And what do you do with the other side, right? Because you can't discard it. You can't dismiss it. You can't say, okay, well, we're right, you guys are wrong, and everything you say is wrong, and science is wrong, and you shouldn't even believe in science. Nor should you, on the other side, say, we believe in evolution, and so we shall not believe in anything that the Christians say. And I think that's probably the problem that we run into more often than not, is that we're unwilling to talk. We're unwilling to listen. Maybe that's better. We're unwilling to listen. And we're unwilling to open our ears and open our eyes and and use facts to make our own decision. And I think where I'm going with all of this is this. Would you say that in order to be a Christian and to believe in the 6 days of creation, you have to abandon science?
Yeah, I missed like half of that. It's lagging.
Oh, okay. Would you, if you were to be a Christian and to believe in the 6 days of evolution or 6 days of creation, does that require you to not believe in science?
Oh, no.
No, not at all, right? Does it require you to not believe in evolution?
To an
Probably,
extent.
right? I mean, because the evolution goes against what we see, what we believe, but science doesn't. And so, the idea, I guess, the point I'm trying to make is that Christians should consider themselves um, supporters of science, right? We have medicine, we have, in houses, we have technology, we have all these things were developed, were built or designed from or spawned from science. And so, to be a Christian doesn't mean to give up science and just follow by blind faith alone. I think to be a Christian means to understand what God has done and to use science to explore that.
Mhm.
And I think that's the difference. And and what that means is we may not understand how he did it in 6 days. I can't comprehend that, but I can trust that he did. What would you say to middle school teens that are struggling through this right now? Lily, you said you went through something like this. Do you want to share how you went
Yeah.
through? Go ahead.
Yeah, I grew up in a public high school where there were very few, if any, Christians, and it really preached at you that you have to believe that evolution happened over time and all of that kind of stuff. And I would just say, I don't know, I would say go through what you believe, and like don't just completely cut off that side, because that's not helpful, and don't just completely listen to what other people are saying. Like what I would do is I would go into the Bible, I would read what it says, and really wrestle with it for a little bit, because like now is the time to wrestle with it.
And I also had a unit. I took a class last semester that I was actually dedicated to comparing science and Christianity. And one of the things I took out of it most was that um, the Bible or science is actually meant to further our faith, not stop it.
Mhm.
It's meant to go hand in hand, and they feed off of each other. For example, we use science to examine and admire God's creation. And so looking at it that way, saying like they are meant to complement each other, not to tear each other apart, I think is a really helpful way to look at it.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. That's what I tried to say in a million words that you said so eloquently in just a few. So thank you, because that's exactly right, right? We can use science, and we should use science to explore God and his creation. He's the one that created the laws of science, right? The laws of physics. He's the one that created them for us, so that we could explore them. Obviously, so that they would hold the universe together. But we can use the science and these practices and the knowledge to explore God and to explore God, his creation, the wonder of his creation, people say. And I find it interesting, we talk a lot about fact. And if you've noticed in college by now, can you think of things that you learned in, let's say, elementary school, that from scientists, right? The science says this, but now you're hearing that scientists are shifting and changing their mind, changing their theories because they have new information. You guys go.
I have one. So in the 1870s, there was a dinosaur called they were debating whether it was a brontosaur or an apatosaur, right? It was a whole long drawn out thing. I have done multiple long presentations about this topic. We're not going to do that right now. I wish, but no. And so they ended up determining that the brontosaur and the apatosaur were the same species. Like they were just apatosaurs. And it literally took until 2015, from like the 1880s to 2015, for them to be like, oh, they're different. Whoops. And now we recognize them as different. But it took a while, a hot second, if you would. That is my...
And that's a great example, right? Where we find that science is, as science gathers new evidence, their truth changes. And it should, right? As you learn, right? I mean, think about what you knew as truth when you were in first, second grade and what you know is truth today. It changes. You know, the truth doesn't change, but you know what you know as truth changes. You can now understand things, facts that you couldn't comprehend before, right? When you were younger. And so, and that's fine. That's the way it's supposed to be. But it goes back to Candace, what you were saying, and that is that
Cadence, Dad.
cadence. I'm sorry.
I've done the same thing so many times.
All right,
I
I've
just
been doing this for 19 years. It's
Yeah.
okay.
I do the
cadence.
same thing.
That we can use science to explore God's creation, and that means discovery, right? Discovering in 1800s that we have these two dinosaurs that really are one species, but then discovering later that they're not, that they're two. Patty cake one and whatever the other one was that you said.
Basically, yeah, they're both patty cakes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know, another one too. I was reading an article last week. I think it was in a science journal, right? The scientific journals that get published. And most of the time I can't understand any of them, but they're fascinating. I like to read some of them. There is a new study going on right now, a new theory that the universe did not start from a bang. And according to science, they
Really?
can go all the way back to what they consider the very first second of creation, but they can't go back further than that. They can't go back one more second. And what this study was saying, if I understand it correctly, I'm not a scientist or an astrologist or whatever, but is that up until now they've been extrapolating that first second. Based on everything else we see, we come to here, and now we can go back. We're going to assume that we know what happened at the first second. And now they're saying that there's still problems. If there was a big bang, then why do we see this and why do we not see this, right? Theories. And so they're saying, okay, well, maybe it wasn't a big bang. It might have been, and then they go on with what they think it is, which would account for what they see in the universe. And instead of instead of a bang starting from nothing, they're saying that it started from something, but we'll not know what it was. We won't ever be able to know what it was. And that's interesting because science calls that forward movement. Science calls it, right? They're making strides in their discoveries. And really what it is something completely different. And I think, Hannah, you said this, maybe before you left. What was that one that you kept saying over and over again? If you don't agree with science,
just wait.
Just
wait
wait.
it out.
Just wait it out. And so I think that, really speaks to what we see and maybe even provides something for the middle school, the teens in school today, and that's, look, what they're telling you that is a fact today may not be a fact tomorrow. And it sure wasn't a fact yesterday. In fact, Indeed, some of the facts yesterday, science has already proven wrong. And they're okay with that. And they should be okay with that. We can't know everything immediately. And so for middle school, I would say to them, just wait. Just wait. Because what you are reading and what you are learning is changing day by day as science discovers new things. And now there may be a point, like this article, there may be a point where they will never make the leap to God. But they won't have any other choice, right? Because there's nowhere else to go. And so they now have a choice to either stop exploring or admit that there's a God. And what they end up doing is exploring ways around that.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, the point still stands. Just wait. Just wait. You're only in middle school. Ask your parents, ask your grandparents. There have been a lot of things they learned as fact that now science says is not a fact. Thank goodness. Remember the leeches and the sucking of the blood? Right? And when was that? Even the 1900s, 1800s?
Yeah. Well, Mom texted me a minute ago, and she said the number of planets. Because I see at least once a year, Pluto gets added and taken out, and added and taken out.
Yeah, right. That's wonderful. And what a great example, because it's a simple one and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I learned that there were 9 planets. That's a fact. And if somebody told me that there are only 8 planets, I would tell them they were stupid. There are 9. It's a fact. There's nothing to argue about. Heck, we can even see it out there. Pluto is out there. And now we say that that it isn't a planet. Right. Yeah, exactly. And so the fact that I had, the fact that I was taught, the truth that was instilled in me turned out not to be true. Right? And that's a simplistic example. Why is it not a planet? It didn't disappear. We just recategorized. But the idea still stands. The point still stands. So very, very cool. And I think, I'd like to kind of talk a little bit more, not today, but in the weeks to come, about some of these challenges, some of these topics and maybe stresses and pressures that our young teens are under. Because it really does make a difference. I think these kinds of conversations help them to say, it's okay. It's okay to believe in God. And believing in God doesn't mean abandoning science. It means waiting, because science just hasn't caught up yet. So, all right. Cadence, look at that. I said your name right. Lily, Annie or Hannah? Which one is it today?
Annie, I think.
Annie it is.
I wrote it somewhere and
all right. Any good jokes?
I don't know. What was the one? I feel like there was one of the kids said a joke. Oh no, you're trying to get me to tell them a joke. And I forgot. Do you have a joke?
Not really.
I think this is the joke. This is us trying to come up with a joke.
Yeah, maybe.
One of these days I'll remember to find one.
The first thing that came to my head was the joke about the bike being too tired.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
All I can think of.
All right, fine. Hey, what do you call a dinosaur who never gives up?
A Tyrannosaurus.
Triceratops.
That too.
See, I'm sorry to break this to you, Annie, but you know way more species of dinosaurs than most people do.
Tyrannosaurus rex is not that difficult of a species. I was a play on words. These were the Tyrannosaurus rex. One would say that I tried to make a pun and it did not work.
I understand.
What do you call a dinosaur that knows a lot of words?
Thesaurus rex.
A thesaurus. One more. How do you invite a dinosaur to a cafe? Tea, Rex?
Oh, that one I don't
Ah.
like that one. I'm gonna
All
tell
right,
that
that's
one.
it. That's all I got. I mean, there's 100 of them, but we're done. I think we're done. All right.
It's just like, I don't know why I started doing that again. I just, yeah, hit the wall.
All right, you guys have a good week. What? I think I'm missing something.
Maybe it froze. We'll get
Oh, goodness. Okay, yeah. I tried to get you to hit the wall, and then you just
All right, we'll see you guys next week. Thank you.
it's not working out very well today.
No, that's okay. We'll figure out the internet connection with you guys before next week. Bye.